We're in the main studio here on WCNC Plus, but the content remains the same. We want to talk about this winter storm. We're staying weather impact alert all weekend, and this is really for our greater viewing area, if not the whole state, all of the Carolinas. Everyone is preparing for what comes our way, including our law enforcement. Joining us for our weekly visit anyways, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Garry McFadden. Thank you for making the time, stopping in this morning. So what preparations are you making there for the detention center?
Well, the detention center is still going to operate as it usually does in winter storms or a crisis. So we have to tell the families the visitation may be a little bit slower, but the staff and the residents inside, we're there. This is our city within a city, and so we're prepared. We can hunker down, but we are in a secure facility. So staff coming to work is going to be our problem. Staff driving in to work every day and staff leaving every day may be the problem. So may be some delays. Some people don't live in Mecklenburg County, so and we're not sure of the roads that they're living on. So that's going to be the issue, whether staff can make it in. And then, if daycares and everything closed, staff has to adjust to that. So we have to adjust to staffing because we have mothers and fathers and families, and then we have husbands and wives working. So, can you drop the kids off and still make it to work or pick up the kids? So those are the challenges that we will have.
All right, so that's going to be fluid throughout the weekend, I suspect.
Absolutely.
Then, do you have reinforcements?
Well, we have good staff. Reinforcement is people who have the days off. And so we're going to say, hey, can you come in and can you work in place of someone else? And so we ought to adjust it that way.
All right, so everyone's sort of on standby.
We're on standby.
Like we are here at WCNC as well. When we talk about, the actual facility itself, the jail, the detention center, and those incarcerated, talk to me about the status of the situation there right now. And we're going to be going into below freezing temps all week next week.
We are going to be going into freezing temps. And what happens is a lot of people may do things to be incarcerated. This is a place where homelessness not takes advantage, but may say, I don't mind going to jail. And so that is also going to be an issue and a problem. And if power goes out, we have to look at it from a crime standpoint. If people are breaking in buildings or taking things and then get arrested, they will come to the facilities. So all these things play into being incarcerated. Okay,
then I would suspect capacity might be a challenge.
Capacity in our facility is a challenge at this moment because of certain laws, arena laws, and just the caution of releasing people. We are at maximum bed capacity as of today. We reached that point earlier this week, and we said capacity. Imagine we can house 1791, and we are already at 1830. So 1791 is our bed space that we can hold comfortably, but now we are at above 1800.
Over that.
Now, let me caution people. They said they're sleeping on the floors. They are not sleeping on the floors. We have an apparatus that is a hard shell that's elevated off the floor, and there's a mattress on that. And so it has bedding and all. So when people say they're sleeping on the floor, they do not have a room, or they're not sleeping inside a room inside of a pod. But they're sleeping inside the pod on a apparatus that has a mattress on top, so it is bedding.
Okay, all right, good. Thanks for clearing that up. And we expect conditions to deteriorate, right, real quickly, starting Saturday night through the next week. You talked about what might happen and folks that might be even on top of the already overcapacity that you have. What do you do as far as your staff goes to ensure the safety of those there?
Well, they may not have much. The residents may be confined to their rooms more. Now you have what they call the day room. They come out, they're in programs, they're in activities. We're program heavy, activities heavy inside the detention center. So we may have to restrict that to you just stay inside your room. And that's for safety for my staff.
Okay, any concerns then with the large amount of people?
Well, it is a concern for our staff because what we're dealing with is the mental health aspect of the criminal justice system. And so because of that, we're taking in a lot more people that have mental health challenges, or we are addressing them much more, and then they are staying longer because now they have to be evaluated, and that takes time also. So the length of stay is an issue. Believe it or not, we have individuals who are waiting to go to court for pretrial cases 6 and 7 years waiting to go. Just had a family to visit a family member last night who hasn't seen their family member for 4 years. And they came. So that individual is waiting to go to court to have his case adjudicated. So we have individuals inside our detention center for 5 or 6 years. And so we have to think about that. That also plays into mental health and just being aggravated and causes sometimes frustration where they act out.
Yeah, the ripple effect of all of that happening. Let's stay with what's happening in jail, but to a serious matter, shifting now to an earlier inmate, Miguel Gonzalez Rosales. He was accused of killing Laura Miller in 2023. That happened in East Charlotte. He died in August of 2025. The autopsy report, though, revealing he died in the jail after being accidentally given another inmate's methadone dose. Can you walk us through what happened that day?
Well, from our understanding that we have a lot of individuals with the same or very similar name. And so this was the case in this case.
Okay.
2 individuals with the same name housed inside our facility. And so the medical staff, now I want to make sure it's not our staff, it's the medical staff that our medical provider, their staff member gave the individual the medication.
Okay, so any changes have been implemented since that incident?
We are changing a lot of, we're looking at better technology and better identification. And so it is an incident that brought a lot to our attention, and we're going to be better because of that. The case was investigated by the SBI, and it has been sent to the DA's office, and no criminal intent was found. So no one is going to be criminally prosecuted for it. But there are different measures, and we're still talking about those measures and technology to prevent that in the future.
So no disciplinary action for any staff members?
Well, no, the actual medical personnel was terminated. But then the SBI looked into all of the investigation. Of course, there will be our internal investigation now, since the SBI has concluded those, to see if anything we could have done on our staff side better.
Any conversation with families who might have heard about this incident and maybe expressing some concern for their loved ones that it could happen?
Well, it's a very rare incident. I believe it's the only incident that I know about inside the Mecklenburg County Detention Center. And I think it is a very rare incident. So, of course, human error. You know, you can't overlook human error. We are human. We make mistakes, but it is human error.
Shifting now from local headlines to the national level, obviously we're all keeping an eye out, and there's a continuing conversation that we're having regarding ICE operations, Border Patrol agents in cities, and now watching Minnesota have some of their officials subpoenaed by the feds and the DOJ as part of their immigration enforcement efforts. What's your response to these federal actions now?
Well, it is unbelievable that law enforcement is fighting law enforcement. It's unbelievable that we are not, as they say, getting along. So imagine for years they said Sheriff McFadden was not cooperating with Immigration and Customs. And that's all everybody says. Sheriff McFadden is not cooperating. Sheriff McFadden is not cooperation. But where's that rhetoric now? And that's what we want to say. Where's that rhetoric where CBP is not cooperating with local law enforcement? Every single day when we turn on the news about Minnesota and all these other cities, it is where law enforcement is fighting. And so I am always going to look for that avenue of coming to sit down and have a conversation. I've talked to Minnesota, I've talked to Chicago. Law enforcement are talking to each other. What do we do? But when Big Brother has the big hammer, it is frightening. You know, you'll get indicted, you'll get a subpoena, or you'll get what they're doing now. And so that is unfortunate. But this is a turn within the confinements of the borders of the United States. So we're not fighting against another country. We are now fighting among ourselves in law enforcement. And, you know, we have police chiefs and sheriffs are speaking out, and people are changing their attitude towards the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and CPP. And so, you know, this is something that at some point we're going to all have to sit down, because if this is where we're going to this city, and after we go into this city, and I think they announced it a couple of days ago, they're going to Philadelphia. And so me and that sheriff and law enforcement have already spoken about what to expect and what can you do. But simply, we can't even reach out to each other for help or I mean, we can reach out for guidance, but we can't even reach out for assistance. But law enforcement indicting and bringing people against law enforcement, we are in some different times.
Yes, you can say that again. How does this influence your approach moving forward, knowing that, you know, the feds can actually indict officials and other law enforcement?
Well, we took an oath, and we still have to protect our city. I'm hoping that nobody's going to indict us or bring us to court because we are defending our city, or we are just taking care of what our voters ask us to do and they voted us to do. And so, again, it is going to take somebody need to say, let's have a conversation. A lot of sheriffs are coming together for the National Sheriff's Conventions in D.C. in a couple of days, and I know that is going to be a big topic because everybody is unsure of where we're going. And if you're bouncing from city to city with, you know, hundreds and thousands of law enforcement, and we don't know who they are, we don't have any verification of who they are or what are they going to doing or what is the topic of this operation, it's very unsettling.
Yeah, I look forward to the debrief after you go to to DC with that meeting.
I'll be glad to bring that information back.
All right, let's talk about, you know, like you said, you're talking about open a conversation. We have the primary coming up.
Yes.
You and your 3 other candidates are all on the Democratic ticket, no Republican candidates for sheriff coming up in the primary, which is in March. What is your style? How does it differ from the others? Because everyone's sort of saying they're on the same page here.
Well, they're on the same page now because it's an election season. They're on the same page because it's election time. If you're on the same page, where is your voice in the community? Where are you in the community? Everybody can say that they are in the community, and everybody say they're fighting for the community. Where is that evidence? Have you been to the places where needed your assistance? We can all say that. All of us have some type of law enforcement experience, and I think 3 of us have over 3 decades of law enforcement experience. But that alone should not satisfy voters. Having a track record of fighting for your community, standing up for your community, bringing different initiatives and ideas to your community should be the focus. So just by saying, I'm going to do these things and making you promises, that sounds good. Every single promise I made to this community in my 2018 election was fulfilled. Every one. Every one of my promises were fulfilled in the 22 election. Every one. And have I went further than that? Yes. Mental health, reentry, reform. So all of these things sound good when you're making promises, but can you actually see and touch them? And can the community feel the impact? Sure, make promises. Sure, say we're going to be different. We all are different in leadership style. My leadership style is innovative, progressive, and we are going to continue that style. Having a new vision, we need to tackle the old things. Nothing is new about crime. Nothing is new about substance abuse. Nothing is new about homelessness. Nothing is new about detention center and the jails. Nothing is new. So bring and say we're going to bring a new vision. No, let's tackle the same things that need to be tackled because they have never been fulfilled.
All right, and you have said that your resume and accomplishments speak for themselves.
If you put each of our resumes on this table, they will not equal mine. Have the President of the United States, both presidents have invited them to the White House because of your community initiatives. President Biden and President Obama has done that for me. If you can say, I'm on every national sheriff board in America. None of them are on any national sheriff board or have ever been on a national sheriff board in their 30 years. So we look at all of that. You know, we can talk about my track record. Sure, we're going to be attacked in the media and people are going to attack us. But look at my stance in this community, look at my track record for working in this community, and look at my track record for innovativeness.
All right. Sheriff Garry McFadden, it is fair to say, we should say that the other three candidates we have reached out to, and we do know that we are going to be talking to Antwain Nance in a couple of weeks. Still waiting to hear from your other two opponents, Rodney Collins and Ricky Robbins. Mecklenburg County Sheriff Garry McFadden, we thank you, as always, for coming in.
Thank you.
Look forward to next week when we see you again. It's going to be a busy week.
It's going to be a busy week, but we'll be here.
Stay safe this weekend as well.
Thank you.